Welcome to Intense Gains. My name's Gary Knight and I'm a personal trainer based in the southwest of London at Clapham Junction. So what you're looking at now is a little bit of a freebie. It's a once per week workout I used in the back end of 2015, coming off a fractured fourth metacarpal. Basically I performed something like 6 or 7 of these once per week workouts. They take about 15 minutes if the gym's quiet, and I recovered about 80 to 90% of my previous strength levels just doing 7 workouts, which was pretty amazing. Obviously muscle memory accounts for a lot of things, but I also think my methodology is a very effective way to train. So what you're looking at is me performing my live weights, and basically I want you guys to pick up a few very simple but very fundamental things today. So as you can see, I move very slow and controlled. I'm lifting the weight in 4 seconds and lowering the weight in 4 seconds, and that's called a 4-4 cadence. So when you see me get to this bottom position and then I change directions, I want you to also take note that that's very smooth. So when you change direction, I usually refer to that as the turnaround, and so it'll happen at 2 points of the stroke at the bottom stretch position there, and then when you get up to the top and your elbows almost straightened but just held back a little bit to keep the strain on the chest, I'll reverse that motion nice and smooth. If you try to be too fast at the turnaround positions, you're going to introduce momentum and acceleration into the lift, and that's going to compromise your ability to measure what you're doing. But if you can articulate that 4-4, go to the point of failure where you can't push the weight anymore with good form and measure that number. Basically it's a very accurate measure of what a human being can do. So when you come in the next week and perform that same exercise, and if you manage to keep that good form and improve by 1, 2, 3 reps if you're lucky, you can absolutely say yes, you did improve. Your training and nutrition and your sleep and your recovery all came together to produce forward momentum, to make some profit essentially. So we're on to our second exercise. The first exercise was obviously targeting the chest, shoulders and triceps, and this second exercise is basically reversing all of that. So we're working the lats and the traps in the back, as well as sort of rear delts and biceps as your primary mover. So the first exercise for the chest, for the big showy beach muscles, and this exercise is to build up the muscles of the back. So as you can see, I maintain that same form, 4-4, but I'm introducing what's called a static hold. So you can see that when I get the handles right back and get my elbows drawn right back, my lats are fully contracted, I hold for 2 seconds. So that position's called the max contracted position, as in your muscles are at maximum contraction, they're working very, very hard, there's load on the muscle in that position. And then when we have that kind of position in an exercise, I like to introduce these 2-second statics. And it's a very good way to basically check your form. Now, if I put a little bit too much weight on there and I couldn't hold it for 2, the only way I could have got it up in the first place was probably by using a little bit of speed and a little bit of momentum. So the ability to pause for 2 seconds at the end of the stroke there basically is telling you it's the right weight. If you can't do that, it means you've probably yanked that weight back there, which is not the idea of this style of training. We're trying to transfer as much of this weight into muscular work as possible, keep it consistent, and then go all the way to the point where you can't lift it anymore. And that's basically a fact about what you can do with weights. If you lift it with speed, if you lift it aggressively, if you drop the weights in between or after the positive or after the lifting phase, you're basically making it very, very hard to measure what you do. And if you can't measure what you do accurately, you don't know if it's working, so you can't make tactical decisions going forward. So as you saw, I had a little bit of a break after I went to failure on that set, and that's called a rest pause set. So that's something I'll use from time to time just to kind of check if I actually did go to failure. So as you can see, I can only produce 1, and that basically tells me, yeah, I went all out, I put everything I could into it. If I got like 3 or 4 sets after that break, it's letting me know I probably held something back. So it's good to use rest pause as a diagnostic technique, but also it's a little bit of extra intensity if you want to double down and push yourself quite hard. So this next exercise is targeting the shoulders. It'll hit the triceps quite heavily as well, but basically the front head of the shoulders and a little bit of the side head will be getting targeted in this exercise. And again, all those basic things I've talked about already, lifting the weight slow and controlled for 4 seconds, keeping a slight bend in the elbows to keep the focus on the shoulder and not resting on the joints, and then lowering it for 4 seconds under control. The turnaround position where I change direction, very smooth, very controlled, and I'm basically making sure that my muscles are always performing work. Basically my rule of thumb is no fun reps. You should always be doing work. You shouldn't be finding ways to cheat and have rest periods during an exercise. You want to be constantly engaged, working hard, slow and controlled, in command of that weight, and just take it to that point where literally it takes everything you got and you can't go any further. So as you can see, I'm probably about to reach that point. I'll give another one a little bit of an effort and it just wasn't going to happen. So I record that number, and that's basically a fact about what I can do. If you are going to follow along with this routine, I've included a log sheet. Fill it out accurately. You just have to record and perform one working set per exercise after one warm-up or two. And if you increase your reps each week with that good form, it's basically telling you you're moving in the right direction. Okay, so we're moving on to the leg press. This is going to be quite a difficult exercise. With all the upper body exercises, I was working between a 6 and 10 rep range. So once you can get 10 reps of it, you increase the weight and you're back at 6. But with lower body exercises, just for kind of safety and the different fiber composition of the leg, I use a 12 to 20 rep range. So it's quite brutal, especially when you do the 4-4 and you get north of 12 reps. It can be quite a demanding exercise on such big muscles like the legs and the glutes. So slow and controlled, 4 up, 4 down, slow turnarounds. And when you get to the top position, make sure you keep a little bit of a bend in the knees. So basically we're trying to spare our joints and keep work on the muscle as much as possible. So grind away, remember to breathe. You're just trying to be nice and consistent. Push through the heels, that's another important point. And just a little bit of a note on shoes. Try to use shoes with a flat sole. I've got a pair of Dan Gable wrestling shoes there, and basically they're basically almost like a slipper that laces up, so the sole has you in perfect contact with the pad. There's no kind of gel or air bubble that kind of mashes around on your heel and makes your joints track funny. So if you can think about a foot, it's 40,000, 100,000 years of evolution to be perfect, and then along comes modern science and we like to stick soft malleable wedges under people's feet. Now that might be good for heel and toe running, but when you do something like a leg press or any kind of weightlifting, to be honest, you really want a flat sole and a simple shoe. So as you can see, I took that set slow and controlled the failure. It was quite a bit of agony there, and I just record that number, and if I can put it up more the following workout, or if you can put your number up the following workout with that good form, you're proving that everything's coming together to produce bigger and stronger muscles. So we're on to the last exercise. Now it is a leg press machine, but I'm doing it in such a way to train my calves. Calves aren't my strong point. Calves and forearms seem to be one of those muscle groups where genetics can be wonderfully cruel. You seem to be born with them or not. Luckily, they're probably my only weakness in terms of muscle size, but I try to work them as hard as possible and correct what imbalances I can. So legs are out fully straight, putting your toes on the pad, and this allows you to drop the heel down low and get a nice full stretch in the calf. And with this calf exercise, it's the only time you'll see me not use a 4-4 or a 2-4 cadence. I'm just going 2-2-2. So I'll lower in 2, I'll squeeze up to the top position in 2, and then I'll really push and contract the calves really hard for a further 2 seconds. So basically you want to get nice full stretch, squeeze for 2, then lower for 2, smooth turnarounds. And the reason I have, I guess, a slightly smaller cadence for the calves is just the range of motion is very, very small. So as you can appreciate, if I tried to divide such a small motion into 4 units, it would be kind of hard or almost inaccurate to track. So I find that going 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, squeeze, and then lowering 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi is kind of a good little compromise for the range of motion, but keeping it slow enough that it's measurable and you're not bouncing around. So you keep driving, again with the lower body exercises, 12 to 20 reps, and just push, push, push until you can't anymore, and record the number of the last good set you did. Okay guys, so thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy the free program. If you have any questions or you want to get in touch, just go to intensegains.com, or you can email me at intensegainsgary@gmail.com. Thank you.